Oh, has he?
Yep.
Sorry, I just started.
Okay.
But that's okay.
That's all right. You're the one posting it. I'm just
It's
here
true.
for backup.
It's true.
Let's do it.
Okay, here it comes.
No.
Welcome to Everyone Racers.
A show designed for the world of low-dollar racing.
An oddball car culture.
It doesn't matter what kind of limit champ or lucky track dog league you run.
SCCA or NASA, we won't discriminate.
As long as you drive it hard and build it yourself.
Join us each week for tech discussions,
Tips and tricks, as well as news and notes.
From the world of amateur endurance racing.
And whether it's on the spot, oh sweet, we were lucky enough. And Chrissy.
Chris.
And I give you just the tip.
We're sure you'll giggle a little and learn even less.
Everyone report to the paddock.
Chris isn't here again, but this is Chrissy.
I'm Jeff.
Oh,
And
is that your
I'm
name?
mental.
Weird.
Took me a minute. I'm like,
oh, I'm sorry. I threw you
Anyway,
off. There's one
that's
person
fine.
listening. Go ahead.
And we are Everyone Racers. Welcome to an Adriatic Wheel episode of our podcast. It's episode 264 under the, man, I'm going to mispronounce about 10 things here.
No, you're not.
White notation for the classification of steam locomotives. A 264 locomotive has 2 leading wheels, 6 coupled driving wheels, and 4 trailing wheels. The first tank engine was launched in 1901 of Cape of Good Hope and pretty much looks like every old school locomotive we've ever seen. The more you know. If you aren't driving, If you aren't driving a steam locomotive with 264 wheels, get your E1R bingo card and follow along with us.
Now, Jeff, I just got a sense from as you read through that you weren't feeling confident, but I got to tell you, mad nerd props on that one. That is a good and proper numerical tie-in to the episode. I genuinely enjoyed that.
Who wrote it?
I did.
Oh, there you go.
Never mind.
If I wrote
Jeff,
it, I wouldn't have
Jeff,
been
I take back everything I said.
I thought
Chrissy,
I was trying to figure out, is
well
this
done.
sarcasm or
No.
what? And then he was just like, oh, I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, yes.
I figured even if he wrote it, he wouldn't know.
B264.
264,
Yes,
I love
that's
it.
what the
Mad-
Wikipedia told me today.
Mad nerd cred, Chrissy. Well done.
I mean, I don't just like know about these things. I look it up on the internet, but okay. And then I was trying to figure out how to like explain what they look like. And I'm like, they're just a bunch of wheels on a train.
It's funny.
Yeah.
I'm not going to nerd out and talk about the train museum
Fine.
I just went to. I'm going to say, Mental, what you working on?
Then you probably should have known about these.
Right? Yeah.
Right?
I've actually not been doing a whole lot. I am rebuilding. I tried to rebuild the carbs on my old V-Star and it came with predictable results. So I ordered a rebuild kit off of Amazon because I did get it to start and run, but it's dumping fuel onto the exhaust, which my Porsche experience.
Fuel on the exhaust, not a
It's
problem.
fine.
Yeah, she's,
Right.
especially when you're straddling the gas tank. So I'm
Okay.
trying to.
It's a little
I've been
different, I
riding-
suppose.
Yeah, I've been riding the scooter to work every day, and I've actually been enjoying it. So I was going to get one of my motorcycles, and I went and watched the Raiders finally get their first win of the season. Vicky and I went and tailgated with some of my racing buddies, and they then beat the Denver Broncos. And that's it. It's been quiet here in Las Vegas.
I always wanted to own the Cowboys. Well, now you own the Denver Broncos. Marge, you know nothing about football. That's a Simpsons reference. Chrissy, go ahead.
So I did not mention this, but I've also, with Jeff will, we've been living through the remnants of a hurricane. So it's been raining like a lot, like forever and ever. So I just did a whole bunch of things with the family. And then I saw my best friend and her girls doing house stuff because I feel like I haven't been home in more than 4 days in the last 4 months. So trying to clean up. Also, it's been so cold and wet that I have no desire whatsoever to go out of the house. So Jeff, how's that rain doing for you?
Yeah, pretty much rained like
Mhm.
rain
Every day.
So much gosh darn rain. So I did nothing. I had to like stay in the house and stay dry. I did have to. So we all know that we didn't build our current race car that sits at my house. We purchased it off Racing Junk. We always leave the windows in, but this car didn't come with windows. So this morning I had to scoop out the 4 inches of rain that was in the racing seats.
Oh.
right.
So
Either
the
you
floor
can go to the
drain.
junkyard and get those 2 windows, and
I
or
don't know that
wrap it
they're
in
going to fit.
wrap it in
We'll figure it out.
cellophane. Just wrap the door in like that cellophane packing.
Yeah, I had a cover on it, but the hurricane-ish winds blew the cover, and that's how it got in.
Because
so.
do we know if the door bars go into the door? I don't know that we
I
can
don't know
fit
what.
both windows in.
Who
we
even
did that
looked?
with the Civic. All you do is you open the doors, you slide the glass in, and then like force the little wood
Mm.
sticks
We'll figure it
underneath
out.
it. Then
Yeah.
shut
We'll
it.
figure it out.
Got it.
So anyway, so I cleaned the house.
Yep.
So like moved the furniture and sucked up the dust bunnies. Cleaned the house.
Mhm.
That was what I did here.
Pretty much.
Well, if you're watching on YouTube, you see a fourth person with us. But if you're listening, you probably don't know because he's been kind of quiet for a guest. We do have a guest, and we apologize because it's a last minute guest. But Mike, why don't you say hi and tell us what you're working on?
Oh, hi. I'm working on 4 different Opels. It's the only kind of car I know how to work on. The Tiny Vette's in the garage and the motor's next to it. And we just got home from Bonneville with the Ascona wagon. Not sure what's wrong with that. And I got a friend's Ascona here I'm rebuilding for him. And a green car GT I hope to sell someday soon.
Nice. I should have mentioned this is Mike Meier from the Tiny Vette team. Go ahead, Metzler, is this him?
I'll say now, Mike, when you say you hope to sell it, do you actually hope to sell it, or do you hope hope to sell it? No, honey, I've been trying to sell it. I don't know why no one wants it. Oh, I guess I'll just keep it.
Well, there's no honey around here, but you know, I sold one last year for a friend on Bring a Trailer. It went for 15,000.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
I just watched an auction for a really nicely, totally restored, but kind of an odd blue color, and that went for 30,000.
Wow.
And this one is totally original, garaged in California. Even the stuff under the hood and inside the headlight assemblies that usually rust still look new, but it has been repainted. But it's totally rust free. I don't know what I'd be able to get for it. 8 to 12, I think.
That is
Wow.
awesome.
And that could keep me racing all year.
Yeah, and these are all Opel GTs, hence the Tiny Vette name, not Opel Mantas or anything like that. It's the only other Opel I know. So
The one
The
I'm talking
Ascona
about-
wagon.
Well, what I'm talking about now is a GT, a 769 GT. First year it came to the US. The Ascona wagon it was a sport wagon, they call it. It's for a wagon, it's a nice looking 2-door wagon. And then I have a friend's Ascona. It was a shell when I got it, and I'm just putting it together for him.
excellent. Well, we are definitely going to talk about what happened at Bonneville in a little bit. But first, we're doing news and notes.
Jeff, you better watch it. See, Chris Teague over at The Truth About Cars, and it's actually started to show up on all the other automotive websites, is relaying a tale of woe from a Hyundai Elantra N, which is the 4-door version of your car. Now, California is, of course, known for very strict modification and noise ordinances. But what happens when your stock setup is outside those legal limits? Reddit user OK Candidate 103 was cited for operating his Elantra in mode, which is a button on the dash. As a result, his stock exhaust was measured beyond the 95 decibel limit. The trooper in the video, which we've got linked in the article and linked in our show notes, informs the owner he'll be forced to take the vehicle to the dealer and have the track mode removed. Until this is done, his registration is suspended, meaning the car cannot be driven on the street. And until this is done and certified by a state representative. And if you follow the woes on the Reddit thread, the dealership will not do this. They will only send him a letter that says it's stock. So he's on there. So once the owner did take it back to the state board, it failed again for the noise at a max of 102 and an average of 98 decibels. A link to the article, the Reddit threads, there's 2 of them, and a video is in the show notes. So this is going to be an interesting story. And I say that Jeff better watch it because the only other state that's known for being so strict on cars, New Jersey.
Virginia.
Virginia's
Well,
worse.
oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, Virginia's just strict on speeding.
So for those who don't know, I own an Elantra N. Look, I got a new sticker. Do you see the sticker? I put it right there.
It's
on my
far
little
away,
check
but
mark.
yes.
It's right there. So it definitely pops pretty loud through that exhaust. I would not be surprised if it would easily go over 100 decibels on the pops. So
Well, what's fascinating,
Good
the
luck.
trooper tells him, "Oh, you're going to have to spend $4,000 to $7,000 and have that mode removed by the dealer."
You're like,
they
I don't
won't-
want
They
that.
won't even know how to do it.
And I also don't want the mode removed. I want to just get a different exhaust.
You
No?
probably
Stock,
could.
It's bone stock.
So
Yeah,
it's a valved exhaust. They probably could just like cut the wire to the valve.
Also, I don't want that.
No,
Move it.
but-
Get out of it. Get out of California. That's the
Just do
real
it, just do
answer.
it. Just do a quick plug. No, Jeff's right. Just do a quick plug.
Oh, okay. So you can disconnect it.
Yeah.
I believe, Mike, aren't you sitting in the California at the moment?
I am.
Yeah.
Up near Sacramento, general area.
Our
All right.
good friend Corey. We'll talk about that when you talk about the button
Yeah.
wheel race.
Absolutely. Well, I hope your cars are much quieter than that.
I hope
Whereas
so.
they're quieter than the tractors that go up and down the roads here.
There you go.
All right. Speaking of Hyundai and Jeff, you may have heard about the TikTok challenge blamed for the spike in Hyundai and Kia thefts. It started in Milwaukee last year and became such a problem the city threatened to sue Hyundai for creating a public nuisance. Lawrence Hodge at Jalopnik tells us that there are thousands of cars were stolen nationwide by joyriders. Hyundai never issued a recall. Now they have a solution in the form of a $170 security kit from a third-party manufacturer. Owners will need to pay for it and for the 2.5 hour installation. Lawrence recaps the story nicely. Hyundai and Kia designed vehicles with a fatal security flaw that allowed them to be easily stolen. Thousands of vehicle owners are affected, and they never roll out the recall for the flaw. The outside company creates a pricey fix for it, and then Hyundai wants owners to pay for it, as well as the cost for the dealer to install said fix. Because, of course, I smell another class action lawsuit coming.
Yeah, for those who haven't seen this in the media, the cheaper Hyundais that do not have proximity keys. So if you have to actually push the button to get into your car, I don't. I just walk up to the car and it unlocks itself. The
Do
starter
not tell
button-
people. Do not tell people how to steal.
No. It's on everywhere. The
Okay.
starter button can be like pried off, and somehow you shove a USB in the hole and turn it, and the car turns on or something like that. I don't know.
So
But-
I didn't know. I heard about stealing stealing cars just in general. I was in Milwaukee, a couple weeks ago,
Mhm.
a month ago. I walked up in bars and they had huge lawn signs that said, "If you are driving a Hyundai or a Kia, tell the people in the bar, tell the owners of the bar." And I was like, just that's it. And I was like, what? Why? I didn't know this was in Milwaukee. This was happening. I
Yep.
didn't know, but I didn't put two and two together. I just thought I should tell somebody if I was driving a Kia, or like,
Yep.
yeah, you get a free beer if you drive a Kia. No, that's
Yep.
not it. Nope. It was just to make sure that they were going
That
to watch
feels
it
like
for
a
you.
Milwaukee thing.
Maybe, right? They're pretty nice,
Yeah. They basically created a push button start car by removing the lock cylinder.
Kind of like how we do all of our race cars.
Exactly. They just didn't ever. But anyway,
Yeah.
whatever.
Okay.
It's not mine, so I don't care. But I don't want people breaking into my car trying to do it. So
Yeah, right?
I
That
do make
would
sure
be
I lock my
stupid.
doors all the time.
Good idea.
Can you say lifted embargo?
Sure. Lifted embargo.
Hey, thank you. How about Z06?
Yay, Z06.
This is like a fourth grade class. On Monday, all the big glossy websites released their impressions of the new Corvette Z06. As you know, whenever they release a car, they usually let the journalists see it early. Well, and then they tell them, shh, you can't talk about it until this date. Well, this week was the date. So we'll be hearing all about the Corvette adventures, or our Corvette adventures, in next week's pod. But the reviews for the C8 C06 were unanimous, calling it the best American sports car ever. The numbers on the all-new LT6 start with, hold on to your butts here, 670 horsepower from a 5.5 liter V8 with a flat plane crank, which means it'll sound like a Ferrari. Yeah, double overhead cams, 4 valves per cylinder, 8,500 RPM. Woo, red line. You get the picture. Don't underestimate. If you don't, you may not understand the sound. Every review reiterates that the new Super Vette has no V8 burble. It does not sound like blah 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 blah. It has a multi-mode exhaust that will offer versions all the way to effectively mother effing straight pipes. Just don't turn it on in California,
Right.
or else you'll all get arrested. Link to the Motor Trend story by Rick Chapos. I don't know how to say his name.
Sepos.
Stepos, thank you. Yeah, there it is in our notes.
Wow.
Motor Trend story.
Blah, 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 blah.
No, it goes. Like
It actually does. It sounds like a super bike
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
that has
Yeah.
that has a bullhorn. Just yeah, it is incredible.
It also just looks so angry. They have gone so angry.
Yeah, I do grow tired of angry cars.
Just
You know it's not an angry car.
what?
What?
Anything on racingjunk.com. So
Oh, yeah. I'm sure they
We-
have some angry cars, but go ahead.
fair. We keep telling you about all this great stuff you can find on and sell on racingjunk.com. And why do we say that? Well, because it's free. It's free to put an ad up there. It's free to browse, and they're great media partners, but you might just be questioning Racing Junk's bona fides. Question no more, because just this week, right now on Racing Junk, you can buy one of a mere 21 Renault Alpine turbos that were made US legal. Now, what is a Renault Alpine? The Société des Automobiles Alpine SAS, which is commonly known as Al-Peen, is a French manufacturer of racing cars that was started actually in 1964. Or 1954. In the 60s, they dominated rally. They merged with the Renault in 1976 and stopped badging as Alpines in 1995 until they introduced a limited production model in 2017. And yes, this is where the F1 team gets their name. Now, the Renault Alpine, because this is America and I pay my taxes, is a mid-engined V6 powered supercar that they made from the 60s deep into the 90s, never imported into the US. This particular Alpine GT Turbo was number 14 of 21 US legal models that were built when Chrysler bought Renault AMC to see if those cars could be sold here. 2 of them were destroyed in crash testing. So really it's one of 19. It was imported to Florida by Classic Euros in late 2000. That's right. Of those 19 cars, they all didn't even come to America. It's got 24,645 miles, a 2.8 liter fuel injected turbo V6 and a 5-speed. It's rolling on some really nice period correct BBS 3-piece wheels. It's lowered, it's black, it's got a clear Michigan title. You want to own your next Cars and Coffee, the next Radwood, or even the local French film festival, you roll up in this bad boy. And I am going to share the screen.
The interior is beautiful. It
It
looks
is so 80s, right?
but it's also very fresh. Like it really doesn't look like, what did you say, 24,000 miles on it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't look like that. Like it looks, they're also just not very good taking pictures, just saying. But the seats look like in good condition. The carpet looks like it's in good condition.
Yeah, it is. It is a proper, weird, bizarre mid-engine French car. I remember when I first got to Germany in the early 90s, seeing a handful of these running around because they were rare even then. And,
I'm annoyed
they are
that I
just cool
can't see
looking.
the whole car. Like the person cannot step back far enough to get one picture of the whole car. Truth. Like I
Look at all
literally,
those buttons.
I
there's,
know,
there's
right?
You're
so
right
many
about like
buttons.
owning the Radwood show. On this.
Yeah.
That's all part of the stereo. Those are you remember the graphic EQs that everybody had to have. On their
So
car
I know
back in the
not
day.
everybody watches on YouTube, but let me describe it for the audio listeners. I would say it looks like, you know, that Casio watch that had the calculator on it, and it was like a field of buttons. That's what this dashboard looks like.
Mhm. Yeah, but interior looks nice. I'm impressed. It should end. What was it listed for?
48.
$48,000.
Yeah, if you got money to spend and just want to have something cool sit around your, I mean, I can't imagine it's reliable, but Whatever, I guess.
What? It's French.
Right.
It's turbo.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Mike,
Equals.
if you ever get tired of working on Opel GTs, there's a Renault Alpine in your future that you can get even less parts for. I don't know.
All right, upcoming races.
All right, Lemons will have the Tony Swan Never Say Die this weekend at Gingerman. 84 cars are registered for the race. 4 are BMWs.
That is wonderful.
That's a great number.
That is not even boring at all.
That's right. 11 Hondas and 1 Porsche. Fifth
Wow.
host Eric Rude added, at last, Lemons' first AMC ambassador. Ooh.
Don't even know what that is.
Ambassador's the big one.
Yeah,
Also,
when they started running out of Plymouth Furies on Dukes of Hazzard to
Yeah.
crash,
Yeah.
they started using AMC ambassadors.
I never knew
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Yeah. Also cool to see the Dumpster Fire Triumph and the Lincoln Mark 7 back. Lots of
It's Mark 8.
Mark 8, excuse me. Also lots of great. Don't put it in Roman numerals. Just can't read those as he's
But-
going through.
That's those are listed. That's what it's
Uh,
called.
Okay, funny story.
Okay, funny story.
Extremely trying to be nice. One of Jeff's ex-girlfriends used to see like Mark 3 on vans and Mark 7 on Lincolns. And she was like, why do all these people named Mark like number their cars?
I thought she was gonna be like, "What's VII?"
No.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, there's also lots of great front-wheel drive GM machines, 2 Cavaliers, the Buick Riata, a
Ooh.
Transport, which is the Dustbuster van, in case you don't know, and 2 Saturns. The actual oh my God, Omni GLH, and a Tempo for good reason. And
Imagine.
there's also the triple brown Mazda 626 and a Corvair.
Which marks the return of Brett Sloman to driver status.
The Corvair.
No, the triple brown Mazda 626.
Oh.
After his meanwhile in Australia moment last year, he is now done with his 1 year.
Banhammer,
Oh.
1 year. Don't flip your car.
Yeah, like ever. Don't do it. Okay. Moving on. WRL is at the newest course on the amateur circuit, the Ozarks. There are 22 cars. That is very sad.
It's
And,
not a
and
very
it's,
big
it's not.
track,
It's
yeah.
very sad to start with. 11 of them are BMWs.
Oh,
That's pretty brave.
That's
Yep,
half the field.
Yep. Yes, it is. 3 Miatas, no Hondas, and 3 Porsches. Mental, have you been to Ozarks?
Yes, I ran Ozarks with a Champ car and the
How
Dead Pedal Racing guys in the Maserati. We won.
how big is the course? You don't have to. It's big,
Oh, God,
little.
well, and if you go to our YouTube, I've got the updates that I did from there.
Okay.
It is a very long course, and it has got the most elevation changes, I think, of any amateur circuit in the US. It is legitimately impressive. Imps had been there a week before and wadded up a few cars. It is an intimidating track.
Okay.
Management was very enthusiastic, and they were learning a lot of stuff about how to pull some of these cars out of there. But that course will hurt you if you don't pay attention.
It's Ozark International Raceway, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes. Welcome to the Ozarks. 3.97 miles. It's a
Wow.
huge course.
And the only reason why I asked that is because 22 cars is going to be actual track day type. You're not going to see another person when you have
Especially
cars that
with
car count that low.
with all
Yeah.
of the elevation changes. I want to say it's something like it spans 2,000 feet
wow.
Wow.
like several times over the
There
course of a lap.
are other configurations. So 3.97 is the full course. There
Okay.
is a 2.5 and a 1.4 alternate courses.
I mean,
so
what is New Jersey down course?
you're making me remember.
I'm
things.
sorry. I'm only
Well, for
trying to-
comparison, Thompson is just over 2 miles.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just thinking of 21 cars on it. It's like a track day, but you're not going to see people. It's going to be, good if you just want to race by yourself, but we like to
But
race with people.
good luck to our former guest Brian Ganelli and the Haggerty round
3.
round 3 team
Mhm.
and shift up and all that good stuff. I hope they have a great weekend.
Yep. Have fun
All right.
by yourself for a long time.
Race report. We're gonna go to a live race report here. Mike, you're still with us. You
I'm
were
here.
at Button Willow.
Yeah.
How'd it go at Button Willow?
It was a good weekend. We didn't do so well, but we got enough track time on Saturday to make it, fun for us. It's the first time out with our car in 4 years. The owner was kind of dragging his feet, bringing it back, but it mostly did okay.
And the weather. How was the weather out there?
It was good on Saturday, probably low 90s, and I think mid upper 90s on Sunday is a bit hotter. Clear sky, no wind. It was great.
Yeah, we had several of our friends were out there in the Sorry for Party racing crew, and I believe they got parked. They melted an engine. They had a terrible weekend. So.
They also won IOE in the El Camino.
Yeah, right.
Oh, so the El Camino won IOE, and then the Failbird failed, and then the Porsche got parked for 4 different
something like
black
that.
flags.
Something like that.
The historic fix guys were parked next to us, and they had some kind of Nissan, nothing spectacular, but they drove all the way from Salt Lake City. This is their first race. They did their best, and after about an hour or so, they were out with a blown engine. And I went over and talked to them and said, that's not unusual here. And people usually go to a junkyard and get another one. And they kind of looked at each other for a while. I came back a couple hours later. One guy was off to LA to get a motor, and they started taking their motor out, and they had never done that before. And they got the car on the road next morning, I think in time for green flag, and finished the day and got the award. It was good
That's-
stuff.
That's fantastic.
That's great. Heroic
so
fix to a bunch of newbies who had never changed a
Well, and
motor
good
before.
on you for mentoring them in the proper ways of dude, this is crap can racing. Never say die.
Well, at first the look on their face said, I'm not going to do that. And then a couple more times they started thinking we better do this. It's a long time. That's a long drive back home after just an hour of racing.
Yep.
Heck yeah, especially if you've been preparing for half a year or a year to get there. So we actually had the same conversation with Chris Fix on his first race because they blew their motor like immediately, and we were like, "You're a YouTuber who fixes things. You can't go home." And our good friends from the Garage Heroes podcast basically like gave them their garage and said, "We're gonna help you, and you're gonna do this. So let's do it." They had less than successful results because I don't think they ever got back on track. But yeah, that's a totally different story. And we're talking about the butt, and we love Button Willow. I'm the only one here who's never been there.
Do we love Button Willow?
I don't know.
love Button Willow. You and Chris do not like Button Willow because it's dirty and hot.
Oh no, that's not why I hate it at all.
So why do you hate it?
Oh, I don't think it's very flat. It's not the most interesting track. There's a couple. I mean, it's challenging enough, I guess, but I just don't think it's anything special.
Probably.
I'm going to say that in the beginning, I didn't like it. It was flat. It seemed like a bunch of little obstacles were thrown in your way, and it wasn't very racy. But after a while, I kind of caught on to it. Like you're in that NASCAR turn or whatever they call it, Riverside, and you're thinking, can I go faster? Because this is getting scary. And if they run the front straight, if they run that straight all the way down there, you can just hold it. And the Tiny Vette hit 115 there.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah.
He was like, whoa, what was that? We only know by RPM, it was 5,500 RPM, and that's what it was. But some of the other stuff, you learn how to hook up the corners. And some of those wide S's, you just hold it all the way through. It's really fun.
You're
I'm with you
probably
on that
right.
one.
Actually,
On Mike, because I moved out here a couple of years ago, and the first couple of times I was at Button Willow with Vera and some other organizations, I'm like, well, this is just boring and lame.
Mhm.
And it's a lot of nuances to it. And then when they run the different configurations, it throws you off a little bit. And you do, and I think Chrissy, you've talked about this. There's no visual references off the track. You can't
Nope.
look at the house or the tree or anything because it's just almond
Nothing.
groves.
desert. Yeah.
So you really have to kind of build your feedback loop with what the car is doing and sensing the pavement. And I do take a great deal of enjoyment out of that one.
And I think it might be the cars that I've driven there. So I think that's because I have driven with Spank a long, long time ago. That was like my first away race. And I think I was driving the Simca.
Yeah, I'm
And
sure it was really blistering fast in the Simca.
yes,
right?
right. And the mini, the actual mini that was like a lemon at the time. So like the lemon mini. So they weren't very good. And then I was just in the Porsche, but the Porsche was very twitchy. All of them said so. So I was kind of babying it. So I think you're absolutely right. I think it was the cars that I was driving and not being so confident in them. So I was kind of like, this is pretty
feel like-
boring
I'm like
because I was kind of just
The Simca, though, you're probably having the exact same conversation going into Riverside. Could I be going faster? Yes.
no.
Yes, I absolutely could be going faster. In fact, I could get out and probably walk faster.
No, I mean, kind of. Yes. Yes. So anything else, Mike?
Oh,
Anything
Lord.
else of note?
Well, my first impression was hey, there's not that many people here as there used to be. It used to be like 130, 150, and there were 90, which is still a good, healthy number for
Yeah.
30 people to race. And I have to say, I haven't been able to race very much lately, but it was nice out there. It was good, clean racing. We were going into some of these kinks with 4 cars in a pack, and everyone behaved really nicely. The people who are obviously rookies out there were doing their job as rookies, keeping going, but trying to stay out of the way, helping us get by. It was really nice to be out with those guys, those drivers.
That's awesome.
That's
Yeah,
great.
it's great.
And since we hit it on, I do want to congratulate Team 314, Penal Code 314. They had this danged old Camaro, and they've been coming out for the last couple of years, and they've been wanting to win. They always run Yokohamas. They've been wanting to win the Yokohama Cup. They not only won the Yokohama Road Mangler Cup, they also got the Halloween Meets Gasoline because they had the eBay sniper theme, and they actually had. You could come and shoot, pictures of various Lemons officials and, work on your sniper skills. And they've been so enthusiastic,
Wow.
and they finally got double awards, and they were second in Class C. I wish I had
Wow.
been there. So congratulations, Shelly Osborne, the entire team, all those guys. They're just great folks. And I was so happy to see that they did well.
That's fantastic.
I like the eBay sniper idea. What you have to do is you have to wait until the exact end of the race and then reveal your theme.
Fair.
I lost 4 watches this week. I've been trying to buy another watch. I lost 4 of them to snipers. But anyway, listener feedback time.
We talked about last week, Chris was taking the Disco Vette on the Boston Rally, and he did it with Uncle Dave and Bobbin, and which was just a great time. They had lots of pictures. Check out our Instagram at everyone.racers. Brian D mentioned that the rally looked like a lot of fun. I think he was right, except for, all the wrenching that they had to do.
In parking lots.
Yeah.
Jeff, do you have something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we probably should mention our original plan was to talk about the rally this week. Since Chris has some family obligations up in New England.
And the car and the Vette probably broke down already.
Oh, I hope. Don't say that.
I
No,
think
I know.
the Vette's not the problem, but so we
The vet
we
is
are-
the problem.
Well, yeah.
That is not the problem why he's on his way home now.
Yeah.
That is not the reason. He's
But
last time I checked, he's moving. So
we should say that we are going to do the Lemons Rally coverage as promised next week. So if you came this week for the Lemons Rally coverage, we are still going to cover it next week.
yes, we probably thanks for getting that out of the way because we didn't actually say where Chris was. We didn't
Yeah.
just actually kick him off the show. We just said he's not here. So let's do that. And so James M offered to help Chris out. He's in Connecticut and tracks the C4. James, Chris may hopefully he doesn't need help on the way home. He's already through Connecticut, so he should not need help.
Awesome. On the YouTube, Ian commented that he made just the tip. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Let's go back. I don't remember what we did for just the tip last week.
It was the don't burn up because he caught on fire
Oh,
twice at the 24-hour race.
Yes. That
J-
Ian from Apex Adjacent.
Yes.
JF commented cruise control is great for road trips. I have a global cruise that's been a half a dozen Lemons rallies. It didn't work in the MGTD because 54 horsepower. Probably don't need to need it then.
In the days before cruise control was widely available, and then any of the crap cans that I was driving, I always had a really heavy boot. And I
You're
would
not.
put
Are
that-
you kidding?
No, I would put that on when I had to do a long road trip, and you would learn to place that boot at the right
No.
spot on the gas pedal to maintain
Are you-
speed.
What? That's not
Jeff,
a thing.
Jeff, back me up on this one. or
No.
not?
No, not at all.
Nope. All
I-
right.
I-
So yes, no,
What?
I have, in fact, I still have the steel
Can't tell
toed
you.
work boots.
No, no, I believe you did it.
I mean,
I don't think other people do
I
it. That
do.
is not a thing that
No.
this podcast recommends
Yeah.
anybody do.
No, no,
Do
you
not
don't. You don't
do.
flatten it. No, you don't flatten the gas pedal. You find the right angle where the weight keeps
No.
the gas where you want it.
No, that's where your foot is.
Mike, you've done some really interesting stuff in some very small cars. There's no way they all had cruise control. Am I on Mars here? Is it just me?
I'm sorry, I missed that bit of the conversation.
So in
I was
older
trying to get
cars
my
without
camera going.
Oh,
Okay,
it's
fair enough.
okay.
in older cars without cruise control, I usually always had a heavy set of combat boots so I could kind of use the mass of the boot as a cruise control.
Is your foot in the boot?
Yes.
Okay, so you're
Ah!
wearing the boot. Okay, I'm.
Oh no, I'm not wedging my gas pedal down. I'm mental. I'm not insane.
Okay. I was thinking you were just finding a rock to like put on your gas pedal. And I was like, this is insane.
Well,
No. Just so you didn't have to actually use leg muscles, just the weight and the mass of the boot with your foot in it would hold the gas pedal at a steady rate.
Okay.
I'm
I
not
think
buying.
you'd
it.
have to- I think you'd have to put a block behind it or it's going to go all the way down.
Nah, you adjust the angle. You don't put it like all the way flat on there.
I totally will. I'm gonna say I totally do that. I find like resting places for my foot so I don't have to put pressure and things like that. Sure, but what Jay is talking about here is Global Cruise, which is like an aftermarket cruise control that like holds the cable on a cable throttle.
Oh my gosh.
So it sounds great. Ron Harrington of Ronster Wraps, check that out if you need some artwork for your iRacing car. Had some interesting points about the H2OI festival disaster. He says it'll be interesting to see how the Race of Gentlemen event in Wildwood this weekend, which is coming up, is handled in light of the tragedy. Does everybody know what the Race of Gentlemen is? It is like the race on the beach in like stripped Model Ts. Basically, imagine a Model T with no bodywork and a race seat thrown on it. Like that's the Race of Gentlemen, and it's a very big deal for Wildwood. So
It did not happen
because of the rain.
because of the rain.
Because of the
Yeah.
rain.
Now, but here's the thing is Ron also went on to add in that there was a sanctioned classic car event in Wildwood that weekend also, and this whole H2O mob nonsense made life insanely more difficult for them, as Jeff put it, old fogey car events. And this goes into our entire rant about you're ruining it. And no one who's listening to this is part of the problem, but yeah, these people are out there doing this, and it's a bit of a problem, the takeover culture here in Las Vegas. And I think it's being exported from Los Angeles. Well, they'll take over intersections and they'll block it up with cars and just do a bunch of dumb crap and
Donuts and
right. And then the next day when, they don't get busted and I'm driving, granted I ride my scooter to work, but I'm rolling around with my buddies in some of the hardware we have around here, and we're getting hassled and we're track rats. We don't do this stuff on the street. And,
Yeah. Did you both of you know this, that Ron is like a DJ for car shows?
I did not know that.
that guy
Yeah.
continues to impress
I know
me.
he does everything.
He's an
Tyler,
impressive person.
I know. So Tyler Stank mentioned about Mental's woes and his wheel. He's always heard a bent bicycle wheel being referred to as tacos.
Tacos,
Or
not
taco
potato
wheels.
chips. Oh,
Potato chips. I don't know.
Update on that. I took the bicycle wheel to the bicycle shop and the guy looked at it and said, I can never make that right. So my new one comes in next Tuesday.
yeah, not surprised.
Hey, you know who never ever bends the wheel on their bicycle?
Or anybody else's for that matter.
Yep, agreed. I don't think
Chrissy's
she does
mom.
that.
Because she's a conscientious and attentive driver.
She is. She also has a bike and doesn't mess up the wheels on it. So there's that.
Yes, technically it was Mrs. Mental's bike, right? It wasn't your bike.
No, that's my bike.
Oh,
my
that was your
truck.
bike.
I
Oh, okay.
ride to work. It's Mrs. Mental's scooter that I've been riding.
Mrs. Mental's school. I got it. Okay. Well, hi to Chrissy's mom and Chrissy's relatives who are listening to us. Thanks for being our first listeners. You're joined by like tens.
10.
10,
Hun-
just 10.
Yeah, no.
10.
Anyway, we're going to move on to our main topic time. We already mentioned that our main topic is going to be talking to Mike Meier of Tiny Vette fame, infamy. I'm not really sure what we're going to say. Definitely lunacy, because not only is he the only Lemons team that is dedicated to the often demised German brand of Opel, but has taken his Lemon car to some really fantastic outside of Lemons events and probably holds more records, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, than any other Lemons car on the world. Because I made it all up. And if you're the only person to do it, you have the record. Hi, Mike. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good.
So, tell us a little bit about how you got into Opels and how you decided to bring them to Lemons. Did one follow the other, or were you into Opels and decided to lemon it?
Well, I had just finished my first race ever with another team that, if you remember, there used to be a little Mazda 242 or something like that with a pyramid on top. And I raced with them and came home, grinning for a week, and ran into a friend in a tire shop and joked, let's get an Opel GT and make it look like a Corvette and race in Lemons. And I went home and thinking about it, and he went home and looked up cars and found them and called me, and we were on. And 8 weeks later, we showed up at our first race with an Opel, and I had no idea. I thought they were Japanese cars. You know, it's like a little Corvette, you know, that was something the Japanese would do. And kind of been sticking with it ever since then. We've raced it for 9 or 10 years.
That's great. So you didn't have any experience with an Opel or an Opel GT before you decided to race it and bought your first one?
No, and my wrenching experience before that had been I could do brake jobs. So for our first race, we were just hoping the motor ran because I wouldn't have known what to do.
That's great.
We finished
And
the race.
Mental is sharing a picture of an Opel GT, not your Opel GT, I don't think. But they absolutely are little tiny Corvettes. They are German. And what kind of motor is in your average Opel GT?
They came with two motors, a 1.1, 50 horsepower or something, and not many of those were sold in the US, but 1.9 liters, and there were about 90 horsepower, something like that, and 100 foot-pounds torque. Four-cylinder cam is up in the head, but it's not an overhead cam. It's lifters without push rods.
Lifters without push rods. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
the
interesting.
lifters go right to the rockers. Yeah,
Huh.
Which makes it so it revs pretty easily. And fortunately, it's a pretty simple engine, and it's iron, so I can't really strip out all the holes and mess it up too easily.
So yeah, I'm going to actually pull up a picture of your own car for the actual.
I got it. Keep
Oh,
talking.
you got it. Keep going. Okay, good. I'll keep working.
Yeah, we got a bunch on Facebook and we have a website, whatever. But
Yeah, Mental will pull it up while we continue the interview. So you did a race with some other people, and then you kind of gathered your idiot friends and said, "Hey, let's do this." So are you still running with the original team? Tell us about how your team has gotten together.
Alan retired after about a couple of years. He's like 78 years old or something like that, and he didn't want to get hurt anymore. But most of the original, half the original team's still there. One's out for COVID still, and then we've added a few more people. We're generally a pretty stable team.
Yeah, and I was
we-
going to say, but you seem to be the purveyor of the cars, right? You have 8 or 10 of them throughout. Not 8 or 10. I'm joking, but you have more than one now, right?
Well, when we got this car, we found an ad on eBay, and we went up to see the guys because and they had 2 cars. So we brought home 2 cars for $500. And one's been in reserve forever. We never ran it. And now I got 5 in the driveway.
Sounds like some people I know.
Yeah, that's what
Not
happens when
me.
you collect weird things.
It's a good thing I live out in the country. No one cares, you know. As far as team goes, we picked up a new driver last week, 19 years old. She's studying to get her certificates to be a mechanic. And she had no track experience at all. She did great. And we were hoping Gary would come. He's 74 years old. So we would have covered more than 50 years of experience, age span there.
That's pretty
awesome.
fantastic.
We have right now we have a core team with 1 or 2 that we have to fill a spot for once in a while.
That's great. I don't want to be, I don't want to be uncouth here, but you're an older gentleman, right? Is that
Tread
is that
carefully,
fair
old-
to say? I'm
there,
trying to be
youngin'.
nice here. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm amazed that I'm as healthy as I am at 67. It's weird. But yeah. Been racing for 10 years. I wish I had discovered this much earlier.
Yeah, I definitely. We've been racing also. We're at I think 12 years. Our first race was in 2010. So yeah, it's a. I was gonna say I'm definitely feeling 50. So I couldn't imagine. Couldn't imagine. I mean, I hope. Let me say this. I hope I'm healthy and can continue to race as long as you have.
Yeah,
So,
well, I may be lucky, or maybe I have a pretty athletic past.
there you go.
And I think it might still be paying off.
That's great. So yeah, I do want to talk about some of the other things that you have done. I was going to pull up. There's your
Wagon,
little
yeah.
wagon. What is that? It's a
Opel is called a sport wagon. It's similar to the Ascona, which is a sedan, but it's a nice wagon. From a distance, you step back a little bit. It's for a little wagon. It looks pretty nice.
yeah. I think it's a great looking car. Matter of fact, that's always what Opel. The when people talk about Opel, they always say, "Hey, they look great." But they're tiny and underpowered and everything, and except for the Manta German TV show, which no one in this
Movie.
podcast
Classic.
movie,
Classic.
sorry.
It's a classic film.
No one has ever heard of this. No one has ever seen it except Mental and I. So
So the thing about this wagon, a couple of years ago, I put on the Lemons exhibit at Sacramento International Auto Show.
we're
And
going
they
to talk
gave-
about that. So
They
keep going.
gave us the main plaza right out in the middle of everything. So I guess they didn't want to put us inside where we'd leak or something, but so we try to do something different every year. And we thought, well, why don't we build a car live at the show? And they said, yeah, do it. So we brought this wagon, we went up into the hills in north of Oroville, which have since burned, and dragged this thing home and did some preliminary work to repair the rust. Took it to the show, and Tim Odell, I don't know if you've seen the photos, a bunch of names on that back in that middle window. Tim Odell and a whole bunch of people were there to put the cage in, rebuild the brakes, rebuild do some of the other repairs in the driveline. And we put the motor in, and by the end of the weekend, we all had pretty much everything in there except the seat. It was almost ready to race.
Nice. I also like the beer container in the front there. Again, we'll mention it for the audio listeners. Their 5-gallon fuel jug says beer on the side of it, so that's a good way to drink your beer really fast. So yeah, let's talk about the auto show. So we didn't, although your Lemons is fantastic, and we're so happy to have you here to talk about Lemons, but you also have taken your little Tiny Vette, I mean, all over the nation, literally. But let's start with the car show. So how did you get involved with creating the Lemons car show display?
I saw an announcement that Euro Sunday was going to be there, and I thought, well, we have to throw a little balance into that and bring the opposite. And they put us inside. We had 8 or 10 cars. It was really good. That was when Team Camel Toe had their car and shocked a bunch of people with their theme. So they're now known as TCT Racing. But that went well for a couple of years. Then they moved us outside into the middle, and became a much more interesting show that way. And then we got more and more cars.
Yeah,
And,
I know a lot of teams on the West Coast are going to this show. It's again a major international auto show. Oh, there it is. There's a picture right there for those of you who are not watching. I see the Alante, the fabulous Alante. I see the Falcon, and I see the world famous upside down Camaro.
yeah, and Jesse Cortez's pickup, and in the middle you see the sport wagon getting worked on.
That's fantastic. So yeah, let's keep talking about some of the other weirder things that you've done. So you went to the Salt Flats?
Well,
How the heck did this happen with your 1.9 liters, and how did it go?
well, soon after our first race, we're sitting around thinking, there's nothing to do till December. So we have a race car. What are we going to do? And that became kind of the background. What we do, we'll race it. And when there's nothing else going on, we'll go do something else with it. And I sitting at a restaurant, have breakfast one morning thinking, man, I was old enough to have done the Cannonball run if I was smart enough. And I could do it now. So, now that the idea is in my head, there's no way of backing out. And I announced it, and I had a whole bunch of people interested, but not available, and somebody fairly local. And we took a while to get the car ready, and delayed and dealing with shippers and stuff. So we just decided to drive the car out to New York ourselves, then turn around and come back.
Yeah, so let me just make sure that, because I watched this on Facebook and I was amazed, and actually watching this on Facebook is when I said, we're going to have Mike on the show and we're going to talk about this, because A, I was super jealous. B, I was glad you did it, because now there's a mark for Donnie and I to try and break. But because you're on the West Coast, you started in California, drove to New York, and then drove back. So technically you double cannonballed. I just want to say that.
Well, sort of. We did overnight in Chicago. My co-driver has a lot of interesting experience on marine vessels. He's been to every continent except Asia. He's been to Antarctica like 6 times, but it was 12 degrees out heading through Chicago and 28 in the car, and he couldn't take it anymore. So we got a hotel in Chicago, then finished it out the next day in New York, and went to the Red Ball, hung out for a couple of hours, and figured traffic wasn't going to get any better. And then we made the official nonstop run, which we did in slightly under 48 hours.
That's crazy.
That's part of it. We had our Opel friends along the way. You see, there's another GT in the picture for those guys who can see it. He met us there and rode with us for a little while, a guy in Texas.
That's amazing.
Actually, I think I know this exit in Oklahoma City too.
Yeah, it is Oklahoma. I forgot. Yeah.
That's great. So, but you didn't spend the night in New York City. You turned around after a couple of hours.
No, we did stop in New York, and we went into town, and it was the Memorial, I forget whichever holiday it is, Veterans Day or Memorial Day or something. And it took us, once we got to New York, it took us like 4 hours to get, a half a mile into town because of the parade and everything. So we got to New York around 10 in the morning, and New York City. It didn't leave till 6 because it took so long to get through traffic.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, right? I mean, that's why it's so hard to start in New York City.
Well, it turned out to be to our favor, because by the time we got to LA, there was no one on the highway. That was Monday morning or Monday afternoon. The freeways were totally empty. It was great.
That's awesome. So there it is. That's great.
Yeah, we went down to CJ at Emeryville as our official starting place. And when we got back to, I forget the name of the town, but, or the hotel, we looked around, and the people there wouldn't take my points for the hotel. So we just drove home.
That's crazy. I I bow down at the amount. I think I may have posted this on the Facebook at the time. So if don't worry, Metzel, you don't have to find it. I said that car must have been really cramped. How both of you guys fit in there with your ginormous balls is beyond me because
It is cramped, but it was okay. The drive tunnel gets really, really hot, which was nice to help keep us warm. But it was so cramped, you could reach into the back seat and get anything. For instance, like, well, there is no back seat, the rear deck. We had to take the windows out to get anything out of the back.
that's crazy. So I am officially proclaiming you to be the Lemons record holder of the Cannonball, and I'm going to proclaim that and since I'm the one making it up, I can make it up on the spot. If anyone wants to beat the record, this is how you have to do it. In a Lemons car, as prepared in Lemons, no making any modifications. So if you don't run Windows in Lemons, you don't run Windows, you don't run heat in Lemons,
Well,
you don't run heat.
we didn't have heat, which we regretted, but we did put windows in. We had
Oh, you did put Windows.
Lexan windows. We put the Bonneville windows back in.
Okay.
Lexan rear, and we occasionally for night races, we will put a back window in
Yeah.
just to cut
So
down on the glare.
that's as raced, I'll say.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, I definitely want to talk about Bonneville because that you did, I think, like right when you started, right? That was like almost 10 years ago, correct?
I think it was we'd been racing for about 2 years by then.
Okay.
And like I said, we got a race car. What are you going to do with it when you're not racing? Go out and find something else to do. So Bonneville beckoned. They have a run, which they have 4 events there a year. The first one is early in the year, and it's kind of a test and tune day for most of the teams. And then there's the big event we all hear about. And then there's one after that, about a month later, which the weather's a little better, and they have 2 run what you brung classes. A 130 mile per hour club and a 150 mile per hour club. And the idea is one's a 1 mile run and the other's a 2 mile run. And I didn't think we were going to get either one of them. So I just did the 2 mile run because it's longer. We have more fun. First time out, it's a really neat experience out there the first time. It's a little like when you go into the Lemons paddock and you look around and you're in awe of what the stuff people bring. And of course, Bonneville is a whole different class, but it's amazing the stuff people bring. You just sit there and drool and watch them take off to do their runs. And so the first year out, we got a couple good runs in, running about 117 mile an hour top, and which is pretty good at that altitude, everyone's told me. And then halfway through,
it is still the carbureted
1.9 liter.
fashionably close to stock. You've got all your build pictures on your Facebook page, which we'll have linked on our show notes.
We had maybe it was a mistake. We had been racing with a downdraft Weber 32, 36 all that time, and this was our chance to put in side drafts. And so we put those in, and I think the motor breathed to. We had much more compression than we thought. So on our third run, about a mile into it, it wouldn't go more than 70 mile an hour. And I got it back and then took the hood off and I revved it and the dipstick shot out and we burned a hole through the piston.
Sure. I can imagine that.
So that's on the trophy.
No problem.
We went back 2 years later and did a little shorter, but we didn't blow up. A little slower.
Do you know what your record is? What was your top?
Our top was 117.
117. Okay, so there it is. Two world records. You have the Cannonball record and you have the fastest land speed record in a Lemons car. And I'll say it just again, run it like you run it on the track. You too can win the Lemons record. Just got to go out to Bonneville. So how far is Bonneville from you? Does this do you have to camp there? Do you have to get a local hotel? Because I know they obviously it's a giant expanse of salt that there's plenty of room around it, but they protect the salt, right? They don't want you
Yeah, you're not out, they kick everyone out at night.
Okay.
But there's plenty of places to just camp. I just slept on the ground. The hotels were probably all booked and too expensive anyway.
Sure. 70-plus-year-old guy laying on the ground, driving his race car at 117 miles an hour. Sounds
But
legit to me.
Even if you're not taking a car, it is a really fun, really something about it restores your faith in humanity. It's like the ultimate autocross with the most beautiful machines in the world. Some of these things are 30 feet long and they're rolling them off the trailer and getting them into position. 2 V8s in them and a driver getting in. There's one team that brings it back every year just so they can have another one of their friends race it. I mean, something really exotic. And then we're there in the little Opel. I had talked to other Lemons teams. Pete Peterson, who runs the Zombie out here on the West Coast.
Oh yeah, we know Pete.
He used to. He was thinking of going out there and we beat him to it. But I told him, go anywhere, or we'll go together next time or something. I don't know if he can get 80 mile an hour in that, but that's not the point. It's crazy fun. And there's something mystical about the experience as well. And we talked to remember the Model T GT?
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
I talked to Dave Scheibel, the builder on the Scheibel, I think it was. He wanted to bring it, but he was thinking we may beat him because the aerodynamics on that thing just hit like a brick, at about 110 mile an hour, and it just won't go anymore. But as far as I know, no other Lemons team has been out there. There was a team from what's the other series back then, the other crap can series?
Oh, Chump car.
Yeah, there was a Chump car out there. It was a Carmen Ghia. It looked pretty bad, but it was fun. It was a good car.
So basically a Carmen Ghia, I'm sure you beat that. That thing has like 70 horsepower, so.
I'm not sure we did.
Well, I'm going to say, again, second world record for the Tiny Vette, and I'm going to throw it out there. West Coast racers, this sounds like you got to go do this. This sounds fantastic.
I would say in general, if you have a street legal Lemons race car, do stuff. Get out there and do crazy. We started out just doing a car show or two, and all the kids like to sit in it. And then we drove to a car show in Seattle and back. And then we did a 1,000-mile tour with the 50th anniversary of Opels.
That's fantastic. What was the reaction to that with the rest of the Opel crew?
Yeah, there were about 75 more Opel, legitimate, normal looking Opel GTs out there. And we were kind of a legend among them. A lot of those people wanted to see it because I do the Opel newsletter. It's kind of like a 40-page magazine.
Seriously?
So of course, anytime I race, we get a feature article in there. Maybe.
Yeah.
So they all knew it really well. And I think in general, they're looking at they have beautiful cars, of course, and they really love them. But then they see us doing the things that they kind of pretend they would do if they could. But they're a really pretty car. They're not going to go out and ding it up or anything. And we're out there doing the things that they kind of, they build a fast car and they don't drive it fast. We build a semi-fast car and get everything we can out of it.
That's cool.
So we do inspire them somewhat, or we're living their fantasy for them.
I love that. It's a philosophy of mine. I to the boredom of my co-host, I always say things are meant to be used. People are meant to be loved. And there's on your Facebook, which again, we have linked, as well as your website. There you are with
all the pretty Opels.
9 dozen pretty Opels there. And
yeah, ours is a working race car at the time. This is the pictures you're showing now are from that tour. It snowed on us one time.
And how many miles was that, you said?
I think the loop itself was just shy of 1,000 miles. It was like from Las Vegas to Grand Canyon to Durango and back through Monument Valley and some Lake Powell.
That's amazing. That's amazing to do in an Opel GT that is pristine. To do it in a fully caged race car, that's again how you fit in that car with your giant testicles. I'll never know.
Well, there were a lot more breakdowns in their cars than we didn't have any. Well, we had one problem. Our back brakes went crazy, but actually our master cylinder failed. But otherwise, it was flawless. It drove better than most of their cars, I think.
Yeah. And Opel GT is a beautiful car. I mean, I think that was a Manta I saw back there. That's awesome.
Yeah, there's some Mantas, a couple of Skonas, and some other stuff.
Yeah.
It is
I-
I would say it's a really kind of nice looking car if you get the right angle. Otherwise, it looks kind of like a silly toy. But I can.
Why can't it be both?
That's
Well,
right.
that's what I was saying. It's both. This is the photo. LT. The photo being shown off. Anyone can see it. He broke down about 20 times on that trip, and his fuel tank, the lining in his fuel tank was coming out and plugging up everything. It took a while.
Yeah.
We have played that game in
Yeah.
our 72 Citroen SM.
Sure.
And the rolls.
And now the Rolls, we didn't have any fuel problems.
okay.
Nope. Rolls was good.
Yeah.
Was a Citroen.
That's a beautiful. Wow, that was a beautiful one.
That was a tribute car, not kind of a replica, pretty much a replica of a famous race team. Opels were in Europe racing and doing really well with the Conrero team back in the late 70s.
Yeah, that's great. I'll describe it.
for
It's
the-
a blue.
audio
and
people,
yellow.
it's got
ahead.
riveted but molded fender flares. It's got period correct BBS style tiny little maybe 14s, but they probably look like 13s. The paint is immaculate, and it is a very yellow and blue 60s 70s style racing setup. And right behind it, what looks like a US Manta, which is the blue with a black Tiffany stripe down the side, and it's gorgeous.
Yeah. I think Mantas are fantastic. I think all of them are kind of fantastic. Even Yuri's piece of crap, whatever the heck that thing is.
Here
It's
we
a
just
version of the
we just
Manta.
talked-
It's a
Sorry,
iMark.
go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a Suzu iMark Opel, whatever. Who knows what the thing is. So yeah,
I would say in terms of handling, the wagon we had out there last week and handled really well. It's a whole different suspension setup. The Opel GT, the front suspension is the same as the old Cadet. It's a transverse leaf spring and no tunability at all, other than shocks. And everyone says the Manta handles better, but once you get up to about 60 mile an hour, the GT has the aerodynamic advantage and will leave it behind.
there you go. For those of you out there thinking about running an Opel, pick the GT. And I'm sure Mike's got like 3 to sell you. So
I have a pristine one that's ready to go on the market. I got 3 minor things to fix on it. But the GTs are relatively easy to find, I think, because no one wanted to throw them away. Mantas and the other stuff are harder to find, but they're out there.
because they were disposable. Nobody thought they'd ever have any value, so they threw them out.
They weren't as novel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So speaking of novel, that's called a transition.
Okay,
Clunky
yeah.
one at best.
Did I set that up?
You are like an author of some renown in the lemons world. You wrote the wonderful book that I swear I purchased many years ago, but I can't find my copy. How on fire are we? And even though unbeknownst to me, I had completely forgotten about it until we talked. Menzel, we can see your background, but not a website if you're trying to share that. Sorry.
Go to the kstreetstudio.com website. There's a page or two for the book. And,
Oh, excellent. So yeah, so in the early days of Lemons, what year was it that you wrote it? Probably around 12 or 13, right? Oh, copyright 2014. There we go.
yeah, I think it was that. I kind of had the idea we did a couple of Lemons exhibits at the California Auto Museum. And in order to get that going, I figured people are going to come by and look at these and not know what the hell they're looking at. So I was going to make up a little booklet so you could see, oh, here's
Says
this car and this is the story of this car. And then I went home and I kind of expanded on it. Then it was 100 pages and I showed it to Jay and he said, okay. And then by 3 months later, I had to tell people, we're done. I can't do anymore. And it's 300 pages. We have to stop.
Yeah. Mental, there was a read sample.
Yeah, and when I brought it up, it was freaking out on me.
Oh,
so.
it went weird. Okay. So
There's
yes.
there's some sample articles you can download that and it's still available. You can still get it.
Yeah, we'll definitely have a link to that in our show notes.
Yeah, absolutely. So way back when in 2014, I think you put a call out on one of the forums, probably the Lemons forum, that said, "Hey, if you write up however many words or however many pages, I'll add you as a chapter." And I wrote it. I mean,
Yep, we
I think I
definitely have
credited
one.
everybody because I asked everybody for their input. So the history of the three pedal mafia is in there, and the history of many of the great Lemons like OG cars
Mhm.
are in there. I've messed with it. I think it's fabulous.
I haven't
Yeah.
seen my copy. We have a copy. I just haven't seen it lately. I don't know where it is.
Yeah.
I'll
So,
pull that one out.
but that's
There's,
not the.
there's talk about doing another one.
Cool.
There has been. There's a section in the back called lemons, quotable lemons. If you get it, just thumb through that. This is the stuff you guys say that are memorable. And I've been keeping up with that. I've been keeping that list going. For the next edition, I'll have another 100 quotable lemons to
I'm
go in there.
I'm
Yeah.
sure.
And
Think like if your brakes won't stop you, something else will. Kind of quotes
that's
like
a good.
that.
That's a good
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Well, and how on fire are we is one. It was one of the quotables, right?
It was one of the guys who were saying he's in this car welding and smoke's coming out, and to his friend sitting over in the corner drinking, how on fire are we? Is what he-
Well, we've definitely said that
Mhm.
sometimes. So you also wrote about your cross country Cannonball run, and that's the book that was I guess not recently published, a couple of years ago, called The Horrible Idea, right? Is that the name of it?
Horrible idea, yeah.
Horrible Idea. So also available on the K Street Studio website, correct?
It'll give you a link to where you can get it. Yeah.
There you go.
I go through Blurb. It's a little easier to work with those folks, and they pay you more, and it's just easier. It's cheaper too than Amazon.
There you go. So tell us about writing that book. Did you write it or did you and your partner write it?
Because I write the newsletter, the magazine for the Opel guys, I did one or two articles, and they said, the guys come back and said, we want more. Okay. So I expanded everything and wrote a couple more chapters, and then my co-driver wrote a chapter, and we put it together. And then all those guys that said they wanted more, I think 10 of them bought a copy. Or something.
Well,
I was fun doing it, and it was a good experience.
I have it on my Christmas list, so my wife will probably buy me a copy. We should give your co-driver a shout out. I don't think you mentioned his name's Don, right?
Don Michelson. Yeah, he's the guy who used to be radio communications guy in a big research vessel. The guy who went to Antarctica and all that stuff. And
Yeah, and is he on your Lemons team, or was he just involved in this?
he's a
foray?
fellow Opeler. He has a beautiful Opel wagon, flared fenders, trimmed out, and it's when people see it at the car shows, they said, if Opel made that today, I would buy one. That's what they say about his wagon.
That's nice.
I was going to say a little tidbit on the How on Fire Are We? At the race last week, you know, you meet people and say, "Oh, Mike Meier. Oh, you're Mike Meier." Like, what did I do?
We understand that.
I just got that book and I read it cover to cover because this is my first Lemons race and I wanted to know what I'm getting into.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh, that's
That was
great.
pretty cool.
Yeah. So now that you're on a world famous podcast, we have one international listener, at least.
Oh, cool.
Mhm.
Your people will say, "I heard you on the Everyone Racers podcast." It happens all the time. All the time.
Uh-huh.
Shh, don't tell them I'm lying, everybody.
Well, it happens
You're-
sometimes.
You're kind of not. I mean,
Sometimes it
like,
happens.
people are like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I heard you on the Everyone Racer podcast. I used to like you."
Hey, back to my idea earlier, and this is really what's driven me all this time is like, you got a race car. Race cars are supposed to be fun. Find ways to have fun with it, not just racing. So I did this for a while, and maybe I shouldn't spill the beans on this, but
Oh, spill the beans. Hold on a
I-
minute. Is this an exclusive?
well, I hope it'll turn out. Maybe getting the word out will help. I pitched a reality TV show. I sent a proposal down, a little booklet and everything to the people who do Jay Leno's Garage and Deadliest Catch. And so I got 3 or 4 hours on the phone with them, and they were really interested. And then they said they turned me down because they had pitched a Real Lemon show before. And I think that was Crazy Mike. because they'd been at Button Willow once and followed him around the whole weekend.
Yes.
Or as we call him,
well-adjusted.
normal, well-adjusted Mike.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I found another producer who's interested, and I just sent him a pitch deck. So we'll see what happens. And the idea is to get 10 Opel GTs, turn them into Lemons race cars, and get people from the audience to come race them.
Dibs.
Okay.
Yeah, just sign me up. I'm there.
Well, originally I was thinking get people who had never raced before. to
Yeah.
race.
Get
I'm
famous
thinking-
people. Yeah.
I'm thinking I got to get at least one person on the team has to know what they're doing.
There you
Because I
go.
can't manage 40 people once the race.
Well,
No,
we
that's
are
helpful.
all professional. What do we call them? Lemons whisperers. That Jay gave us the jackets.
Therapy. We have jackets that say Lemons
Lemons newbie
therapist or
therapist?
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's the new mentorship program that they
Yeah.
established for exactly the stuff that you did at Button Willow with the team that was like, well, this was going to be fun. No, guys, hey, here's the whole experience. So
Yeah, one of the things, and you know, we assume everyone doesn't listen to the show, so I'll just say it, even though maybe you have. Our show started out with the, you know, all four of us wanting to get together every week because we don't see each other, but we really kind of, you know, our tagline is everyone can be a racer, even you. So we try and be instructional for people who are building a Lemons car or thinking about coming out or going road racing. So we love helping people out and have done a lot of work, I think, really mentoring new people into the sport.
That's great. And I think Lemons is wonderful for that because it gives a lot of people a chance who would have never thought of going racing, the chance to go racing.
Mental, can you share that again? There was a picture that you just went through that I hate to do this because the YouTube listeners aren't that much, but
tell
there
me
was
what
a
picture it was.
pickup truck
is not descriptive.
pickup truck with the little car on the back.
Yes, the Ford Ranger. Yes, wonderful team. Yes, they're
I
out on the
pitched-
West Coast.
I pitched this idea for our pickup truck a bunch of times and we never pulled it off, to put a Power Wheels on the back of our pickup truck and pretend it was a.
Oh yeah, no, they've been doing that for a couple of years. Great team.
That's
Good team.
that's Restart Racing. Everyone they
Yeah.
call themselves Restart Racing because when they all got together to start racing, they'd all just gone through a divorce or something similar, and they were restarting.
Oh, that's great.
And, a good team. Usually, they bring they usually run clean and run well.
Yeah, they used to be white with the bed on the back, and they had this corner worker mannequin hanging out the back for dear life.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Mike, I do want to make sure that we promote everything that you're doing before we wrap up. But I want to say, are there any other exploits that you've done that we haven't covered that you think our listeners might be interested in?
We covered a bunch. I'm not sure. Bonneville and the Horrible Idea were the two big ones. Driving to car shows, 700 miles away in a car that's more reliable than the street cars, kind of thing.
A multi-thousand-mile car jaunt in your Lemons car is absolutely amazing. So
I think one of the coolest things is that we got that 19-year-old driver last week. I kind of knew her mom through the Opel world, and I knew her daughter was working on, was becoming a mechanic, and she owned several Opel GTs, and that she came and raced, and she did.
The poor misguided child, but good on you for mentoring her.
Gotta start
We
somewhere.
may bring her back if she's interested. She may be at Sears Point.
Awesome.
And if we can, we're going to bring the Wagon and the Tiny Vette, but it's hard to come up with 8 drivers,
Mhm.
well,
And
I'll
deal
tell
with
you
them
how
all.
we do it. We bring people in and then they build their own car and then they race with us and against us. So
This photo here, this is our first race, and look at it carefully. It's doing really well. The S is at Sears Point. Look off to the back corner of the car.
Nope. You only get
Just
one chance to fix that.
little
and then that's
fuel
gonna
leak
get
never
permanent
hurt
black
anybody
flag.
except
We did everything we could to fix it, and it didn't work. And we got a new filler neck for this race, and it didn't work. We could see the thing halfway across the track pouring gas out.
Oh no.
We brought it in.
Womp,
We don't know what else
womp.
to do now. And Valerie, our 19-year-old driver, went over to her BMW and took the cap off of that and put it on ours, and it worked.
Oh, that's great.
What do the Lemons judges say? Everyone comes in and says it's only the cap that's leaking.
Yeah, it's
And
always
it's never the cap that's
it's always
leaking.
just the
It's
cap.
never the cap until it's the cap.
Until it's the cap, exactly.
It's always just the cap.
Yeah,
Is
there's
it-
your
is
19-year-old
this-
driver.
Is this Valerie?
This is Valerie. Yeah.
Outstanding.
That's
All right.
fantastic.
She was great.
She's got a very bright and wonderful future of heartache and frustration ahead of her, and I wish her the best of luck.
She's got to start somewhere, right?
She was great. She showed up when we got under the car. She got under the car, and when she had ideas. She thought of things to fix, and better than most of my guys.
Well, and
That's
I have
awesome.
I will say this until I'm done instructing. If you get young people started in cars, they will never have money for drugs. So
That's true. It's great concept. Mike, this is amazing. I never met you. I reached out by email because I wanted to meet you, and I'm so glad I have. This has been a great conversation. Really glad to have you here. And please stick around. Don't hang up yet on your Zoom, because we're going to move to the most important, best
before
loved
we
one-
do that,
Oh, okay. There's something else.
now, Mike, we've got your Facebook link, we've got your webpage, we've got where they can go and buy their own copy of How on Fire Are We? Is there any other social media that we are missing that they can follow the exploits of you and your other Opel addicted, crazy friends?
Well, we do kind of you can get to it from the main page. We have a page for the Tinyvette as well, just all by
Mhm.
itself. So
Okay,
tinyvette.kstreetstudio.com.
got that one.
And if you're interested in Opels, opelclub.com. I just refreshed the website for there, so you can check out. It's just the club stuff, but you can download any of our publications back to 92 or something like that. And anything after 2012, there's a good chance we're going to have a story of our car in it.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That's great. Yeah, I love that you went from not even knowing that an Opel was German to like writing the magazine and being the hero of the Opel world, all because of your amazing fortitude and automotive misadventures. So yeah, so we are going to move on to the next part, and it is just the tip.
Just the tip.
Woo, just the tip.
All right, this one's kind of a little off the cuff, but it's
Well-
but
I was going to say, let me introduce it.
oh,
Chrissy is going to give us a safety tip called Just the Tip. Go on.
okay, thanks. So I was helping with an event today, and I was moving a bunch of things, and I tried to be as good as I can. I live with my legs, blah blah blah. But I am totally feeling it today. So we're going to talk a little bit about lifting properly. You probably know the drill. We've talked about it before. You need to lift. If you need to lift something, you're going to squat down, lift with your legs, don't twist, and keep the load close to your center. And you make sure that you're doing it correctly every time. Because really, if you don't, one small thing could really make you hurt your back. Another thing that we're watching out for right now is raking. Not everybody has something to rake, but the Northeast, it's fall, and we have. Right. Oh, you don't have. Do you have leaves?
Mental doesn't
Well,
have grass.
I do get leaves, but really I end up just pulling them out of the pool.
Okay, so that's what I'm getting to. That there's in the Northeast, it's fall, so some people have things to rake, and we have leaves that are falling. So it is this when you rake, it is an unnatural cross-body motion that is just asking for you to hurt your back. Jeff was just doing the motion of how you rake. So watch how you're moving. Do it as carefully as you can. Take some breaks, stretch before and after. And if you start to feel sore, if you start to feel hurt, just stop, because it's not worth getting any worse. So
Yeah,
go back.
the leaves can just sit there. You can wait
They-
until later.
They can. Yeah. I mean, somebody's going to get mad at you, and when it rains, it gets gross, but for the most
Or,
part, they just,
Home Depot has those blower things. That's how I clean my garage half the time.
yeah.
I have two blowers, one that plugs in and one that has a battery, because the batteries are not enough to finish my entire backyard.
Oh, you have a large backyard and a
But
lot of trees. So
the
I don't
batteries are
really
a
blame you.
Yeah, the batteries are a lot easier for a quick cleanup here or there, just to
Mhm.
blow the lawnmower shavings.
I choose to use it as a workout. So I rake no matter what. So anyway, be careful.
That's great. We also want to talk about the New Hampshire potluck and costume contest.
Oh,
right?
yes, we do. Thank you for, I'm sorry, I had swung right by it. Yes, we are having a potluck, and I was like, what are you bringing up here? If you're going to New Hampshire, we're having a potluck. It's going to be great. It's like normal. You have the normal notices of what you can and cannot bring to said potluck. We get off track at 5:00. It is set up at 6. We eat at 6:30. Do not try to eat before then, or I will flip out. But so we have 2 things that are also happening on Saturday night at New Hampshire. One of them is, and all of this stuff is coming out very soon. I just got all the information up on the forum, but it's also going out from Nick to the emails that are going out to New Hampshire people that are registered. The second thing that's fun that's happening is that we are doing a back of the liquor cabinet bartending. Yes.
Yeah.
So in trying to celebrate Lemon's 16th birthday, come out and celebrate, bring all of the dusty, dirty bottles of the creme de menthe and Midori, and
that's the one.
Chambord and all of the things that nobody wants to drink that are in the back of your cabinet, bring them to New Hampshire. We have at least Alex Levinson will be making drinks from all of the gross drinks that we bring, and we might have some prizes for the grossest bottle of something rather that you bring. So bring them with you on Saturday for New Hampshire. The other thing we have going on is a costume contest and party. So the Floodstang team is hosting a costume contest, and they have a bunch of prizes for all of the different costumes categories that they have. And there's no prizes listed yet, but they are working on, we might post them on what you get. You may get nothing, just come out with a costume.
Yeah.
Good costumes, interesting
anyway.
costumes. Yep, pretty much. So all 3 of those things are happening at New Hampshire at Halloween. Yes, mental.
In addition to that, we talked about Gingerman's coming up. If you're going to Gingerman, the guys from the Legitimate League of Nigerian Businessmen have also organized a potluck. They're not having all the cool costume stuff like that, but just because Chrissy's not there to threaten you with stabbing with a Phillips screwdriver, don't be lame.
Yeah.
Don't show up with a half a pizza. Don't show up with a box of cookies. Make sure Randy and that hardworking crew over there also have no potatoes. Nobody wants potato salad. Nobody. I know it's the Midwest. Nobody likes potato salad. We do potlucks at work. It's actually written in the rules. They're banned.
Is it? That's crazy.
We have banned potato salad. But just make that a good potluck as well, because it's one of the wholly unique things about this style of racing is that people get together and they share a meal and they share stories and they help each other out. So help Randy and the crew make a good one.
Thanks for bringing that up.
Oh,
okay.
All right. Do we know what we're doing next week?
Heck, we didn't even know what we were doing this week.
Well,
we actually
maybe.
do know, right?
We'll see. Maybe. We might have a race rally recap if Chris makes it home, which I believe he should. And we'll see. We might have some other ralliers. So we'll see.
That's great. Rally recap, but we won't commit to it 100%.
Sure.
So I want to just say thank you again to Mike Meier for joining us. And thank you all for downloading us. We hoped you enjoyed this week's edition of Everyone Racers. We also, that Mental is showing Opel projectors.
These are scrolling through Mike's Opel Motorsports Club webpage. Go check that out.
Go check that out. Links in the show notes.
Amazing. This is amazing.
Opelclub.com. Yeah.
There you go. OpelClub.com. We hope you will join us in the world of driving, racing, and building, because everyone can be a racer, even you. If you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe. It's totally free. If you're watching us on YouTube, talk to us down there in the doodly-doo. If you have any questions or show ideas, drop a comment on our Facebook page, Everyone Racers, or email us at everyone.racers@gmail.com. You can text Mental. You can text Mental pictures of your junk, even if it's not an Opel Kadett. 484-243-0455. Find us on Instagram and Twitter at everyone.racers. On YouTube or Facebook, everyone.racers. Reddit is /E1R. Look, we're on all the social medias. Just find us. And thank you again for coming. And join us next. Thanks again. And until next week, keep the shiny side up unless you're like us and there is no shiny side, then just keep those wheels down.